Howdy, y'all. Just want to take a minute to go over a really common question that we get. Um, what is the difference in the number one and the number 1.5? It's a really good question because no one else really says 1.5. They just call it all kind of number one and then they'll kind of describe it. But the 1.5 has really been something that's really good. A lot of people like it. So let me explain it to you what it is. So, first of all, number one, if you look at, let me see a good example right here. See these big pieces of 2 7/8 right here? That's going to be your number one stuff. See, it's rusted, but it's still really good, clean, slick pipe. Pretty good looking pipe. All the way down, pretty slick. Now, the 1.5 is like this one here. Here's a couple of examples. Here's some 2 3/8 right here. You see this is a little bit more rusted, got some flaking on it. You know, it doesn't look super great, but it's also not super bad. See, here's another one here. Here's some here. There's some 1.5. There's some number one. Here's a good example right here of some number one next to some 1.5 right here. Number one, 1.5. You see the difference? So all this stuff is going to have no liners in it. The one and 1.5 will have no liners. So it's hard to tell on the camera, on the video, but there's no liners in there. There's no holes, no blowouts, nothing like that. And it's all really good pipe. You can do a lot of stuff with it. The number 1.5, here's another good example. It's a 1.5 right here. See, that's all just surface flaking. That one might be a number 2 piece. I'll have to look at it a little closer, but you know, we go through this and we sort it and we look and see what the 1.5, number 2, number 1, and we kind of sort it into piles. That's the different prices for folks. But this is a good example of what you can get on the, 1.5, 2 mixed. Is this here. You see there's no holes, no blowouts, nothing like that on these. It's a really good looking pipe. But it's all rusted. It's all used pipe. It's all going to be rusted. So the number one is really good surface rust, really good slick, clean stuff. Can have a little bit of flaking, but very minimal. The number 1.5 is going to be that same thing, except for it's going to be a little bit more flake, a little bit more rust. But no holes, no liners, not magnetized, stuff like that. Whereas the number 2, you can have all that stuff. So that's just a real quick difference in 1 and 1.5. Now here's another example of some good number 1 2 7/8 pipe. So you see here, this is really good, clean, slick pipe that you get. It's really good, clean. It's rusted, so that's just how it is with used pipe, but that's looking really good. This one here, I wanted to give you a good example. This is one that's on its way out. You see how this one's a little bit more rusted? Hadn't quite started to pit up really bad, but it's got some pits in it. So it's still a number 1 piece, but it's just on the edge. If it sits out here for a little bit longer, then it'll have to go in the 1.5 pile like we have talked about before. But all this here, number 1, good stuff. No liners in it. No liners, no concrete. All that good stuff. This is all really good. Number 1 2 7/8, and yeah, looks really good. So here's a good example of what can happen. It's got some dirt on it, but this is a really clean looking piece of pipe. Not a lot of rust on it, not even surface rust, but it's really good. But you see here, there's a piece of sucker rod stuck in the end of it. While it's really good pipe, that goes in your number 2 pile because there is a piece of sucker rod stuck in the end of it, and it is hard to deal with. Now here's another example of some stuff that we would call a number 2 piece. You got this here. You see how that's kind of corroded like that? That's a good telltale that it's a number 2 piece, because it looks like that pretty much all the way down. There's also this one right here I wanted to show y'all, is right there. That looks like concrete in the pipe, and that is something that you can get on a load of number 2. It is possible to get those. We don't usually, because if it's got the concrete in it, the truck won't haul it because it's so heavy. So if you do get some of those on a load, it's usually only a few joints, but we try not to, but that's, with number 2, that's kind of things that can happen. Now here's a really good example of what some number 2 pipe can look like. See this here? This one is looking pretty rough. That's quite a lot of flakes on it. Quite a lot of corroded on it. That's what a number 2 piece is going to look like, and going to kind of be that way all the way down. You see, it looks pretty bad.